there's almost a childish attempt at governance where every governor or leader comes in and doesn't see himself upbuilding. Rather, he wants to do his own thing. Okay? But we're like shift workers. I have a shift 4 or 8 years, and the next administration continues the shift. If you address governance in that matter, then you're upbuilding. But what happens is that selfish political considerations, and they'll tell you, oh, I want to leave my own legacy. The best legacy to leave is doing the right thing.
So will you say then that your successors have not continued that shift?
No. You see, I had the singular opportunity, and I thank Providence for that, of starting a race. And in handing over the baton, you decide that you're going to take a different course. That is responsible for our checkered development. Because if we had followed the course, I believe by the year 2012, which was literally 5 years after I left office, we would not be dependent on the Federation accounts. And in another 3 years, would have been fine. We set up a reserve account, for instance, right? And that reserve account was, we were putting in a certain amount of money every month. By the year 2020, we had extrapolated that there would be at least 25 to 30 billion minimum in that account.
Dollars?
Naira. However, when I look back, it would probably have been a lot more, because by the year 2012, there was 7 billion already in that account. But that was squandered or spent, even though we put checks to stop that from happening. But you know,
I know you're a lawyer, and you definitely know the difference between squandered and spent.
Well, yes, I do. And when you squander, you use money that you misappropriate. That's
so was it
squandering.
squandered or was it spent?
A combination of both.
Well,
if it's not used for what it was meant for, then it's squandered.
You were able to, I mean, you had this vision of tourism, and to your credit, the Calabar Carnival is still in existence. People still go there, even though some people complain that it's not what they'd like it to be now, but they still go. And then Tinapa was one of the projects that you also envisaged. A number of people now say that is one of the largest white elephants ever. Do you regret it?
No, I don't. And they're absolutely right. As it is today, it's a white elephant because the building stands, but the activity is not there. It was designed to draw traffic into Calabar, into Cross River. I started off by saying that we are at the end of Nigeria, literally at the end of West Africa, and we wanted foot traffic. The concept is not an alien one. It's like a place. It's like Dubai. It's like Las Vegas, bringing in traffic. And so, what did we do? We put an integrated business resort, duty free. We spend billions of dollars in this country, traveling around the world. And so, okay, for those who can't go to the exotic places, an 1 hour trip to Calabar to achieve that which you would want to achieve would bring a lot of foot traffic. Now, we did a study on this. KPMG study said we should expect about 3 million people annually coming into Calabar.
But as we speak, $400 million, if not more, and counting, $450 million expended on that project, and very little to show for it in Cross River.
That's the concept of continuity. It's not Donald Duke's money, it's the state's money. So responsible governance dictates that you continue from where it was stopped.
Would you say your colleagues have been, successors, have been irresponsible?
To that extent, they have not done well.
Now, just wondering, you have talked about how you've gone around the entire country. I mean, you had this rounded education, it would seem, in different parts of the country. And you say that you've noticed that we're all the same and we aspire towards one thing. But you're currently the member of a group, Southern Leaders of Thought. Is that right? And you have made certain proposals around the discussions going on restructuring. That's also correct. Now, I'm just wondering, do you think that it would have been broader, for instance? I mean, I would have thought that maybe you would have been able to get more friends of like minds across regions. Why do you think that that is difficult to be able to build consensus across regions?
We will build consensus, but you've got to start from somewhere. So you have the southern leaders of thought, but they're also interfacing with the northern leaders of thought, right? Don't forget that this country grew on a tripod: the southwest, the south, the east, and the north. So when push comes to shove, we run back to that tripod. Now, the southern leaders of thought have, in the last 1 year, had been interfacing with the northern leaders of thought, because approach may be different, but we need to harmonize it. Now, the concept of restructuring may be good. I restructure my life on a daily basis. I wake up in the morning and say, okay, I'm not going to do this any longer, and that and that. So restructuring should not be anyone who doesn't restructure, right, is not moving forward. But we ought not be afraid of it. The only thing we ought to be afraid of is good governance. If there is no good governance, no matter how much you restructure, you're not making progress.
I'll ask you this one quickly before we go to break. How much, because you have said that before, that there is no substitute for good governance. How much of our problem would you say is a lack of good governance, and how much of it is the problem with the Constitution?
In percentage terms,
yes.
90.
90 to what?
90 to 10.
90 to 10. Good governance is?
Good governance, the lack of good governance is
yes.
90%. The structure, you'll never get a good structure because the structure is mobile. It changes. What you would do 20 years ahead is different from what you'll do today. Technologies, the thinking, right, would have changed. So, but if you have good governance, you assuage all that, and you could fill the cracks. So good governance is really the concept, really the crux of our problem.
Well, we'll take a moment now. When we return, the southern leaders of thought believe that restructuring cannot be done via a constitutional amendment. We'll ask Mr. Donald Duke what he makes then of the declaration of the Speaker of the National Assembly that all matters around restructuring are legislative. In just a moment, please stay with us.